Hello everybody, I just said a bunch of stuff again and my mic was off. Yay! Nobody heard any of that. Welcome to the stream. My name is Alckemy. If you're brand new, checking this out. I'm working on a tune, or working on a beat rather, just kind of sketching ideas out and having fun with it, and we're going to continue on it today. Today's goal is to create a beginning and create an end, and then I'll fill out all the other stuff and do the thing. But yeah, I'm kind of just chilling. My partner does not have to go in until 1 today, and she may or may not be heard in the background. So if you hear someone acting like a damn fool, please be sure to welcome her with open arms because she keeps life interesting.
It's Brittany, bitch.
That is not even your name. Yeah, she's always in for a good time. So let's see what we're working with, and then we will begin the funsies. Yeah, so it's a cool little beat sketch, and I think that it has potential. Just not really sure what I want to do with it quite yet. So I'm gonna start just trying to fill the track out and seeing if I can find other things that will be interesting for this. One thing that I am going to do is I'm gonna throw a limiter before this other stuff because I'm gonna be bouncing out the master. So I think that if I can just do a little bit of gain reduction here, then it'll make resampling all this other stuff a lot easier. So that's my reference tone. And that's pretty funny. I like these. Most of them are okay. We'll try some of that. Let's see if we can get anything interesting out of that thingy. Maybe. Now we want to turn this off. I'm gonna pull this. This is kind of like our texture layer here, so that's kind of cool. That's really cool. I think that would be a cool sound to use right here. That's pretty cool too. So I found a couple things that are interesting. Now I think with this I'm going to keep going and see if I can find anything else that could be interesting. So we want to change this to repitch mode. And then I'm just going to stretch this out and see what comes out of it. Okay, I actually like a lot of that stuff, and I think that we can use that for the intro. So just, again, trying to create material and prepare us for having as many ideas as possible with sound content to be like, okay, well, this might not fit right here, but I can see this fitting somewhere else. That's really cool as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, but I will use that for something. So maybe something else that I can try is to see if we could toss this into beats mode. Okay, let's see if any of that stuff seems good. Oh, I meant to place that here. Okay, maybe you can do it somewhere like right there. Hey Chuckles, how are you? Hey Massa, how are you? That's so cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm sorry to hear. That's a bummer. Let's do a foghorn, rusty trombone,
There's a seance in the bathroom. There's a seance in the bathroom with the light.
I was like, where? Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much comb filters, distortion, and reverb. I do want it to be a little bit more aggressive, so I might try a saturator over it. Okay, maybe not that aggressive, but... And then what I kind of want to do as well is... maybe 12. Okay, I'll come back to this in just a second because I can just do it with a pitch bend, but oh, that's what I'm also forgetting was a short delay to make it metallic. I was like, I'm missing something key here. Here we go.
The short delay is the time it takes for me to be on my tippy toes to kiss you. The short delay.
That was really cute. That was really cute. My heart just melted in two for a sec. There we go. So now we will do something like this, do something like that. Do something like that. And then I'm going to set this back at 24, otherwise it's not going to do the pitch range. And then we also need to turn this down a bit. I think I might just use a band pass over this because I don't really think that we need all of that bass in there in the first place. Use kick. Drown this in reverb. Then what I'm going to do is just take this and add in my that's really cool. So what I'll do here is I'm going to take out the low end of this and stuff and just kind of EQ it out. Turn that off. And for some reason this isn't playing. There we go. I'm going to place this, but yeah, no, I'm going to do that. Placing that before. I'm just going to use a filter here, the low pass. Hey Levi, what's up? I've been expecting you. Long time no see. Died in a crash 2 years ago. Is that what they told you? Family shows up at a Trader Joe's? Why a Trader Joe's?
You randomly see someone in Trader Joe's in line. I thought you died.
Oh, been a long time, comrade at a Trader Joe's. I'm with my kid.
Say Trader Joe's because I've been there one time in the last year. That's
They-
really good. Walmart, there we go. See with Walmart.
Yeah, have you? Can I?
Bathroom.
Hey, you have time to talk about the Holy Morning?
No! tell you about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Did I ever tell you guys that story? Like, so you guys know that, like, I'm technically from Oklahoma, but I've been living in Vegas. Well, I'm back in Vegas now, but I went home for the pandemic. But I swear to God, man, when I first got back to Oklahoma, I went to Walmart, and I hadn't even been there for 3 hours. I went shopping for some stuff to get a desk and all that. And sure enough, this fucking guy with no teeth walks up to me, and he's like, "Excuse me, young man, do you know where I could find a job?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? I'm shopping. Like, what do you mean? Like Craigslist or some shit, you know?" And then he pulls out a like miniature Bible, and he's like, "Can I have you do me a favor? Do me a favor." And then he pulls out some, you know, this page or something, and he's like, you know, "Oh, and Lord Jesus Christ, whatever, was our Savior." And then he's like, "Now let me ask you, have you been saved?" And I was like, "Honestly, dog, like, I worship the devil." And he was like, "Oh." And
told him that? I didn't know that part of it.
and then he was soliciting you for sex, bro. You got to read in between the lines. And then what's it called? And then fucking, oh my God, dude. And then somebody stole my shopping cart, and I hadn't even paid for the shit that I had in it. It just was gone and disappeared. And so You know.
You know what? If you worship the devil, why aren't we ain't done no seances yet? Why aren't we ain't done no, you know?
Have you read the Ten Commandments of Satanism?
What? First one, eat potato chips.
No,
Second
it's
one,
like don't kill anybody without any reason to. It's like super like mundane and like obvious stuff that actually applies to the same. For the record, I don't worship the devil. I don't really worship anybody, but well, actually, well, you know what I'm saying. You know, you can't see behind the scenes, but interaction.
I mean, I'm just disappointed there's not like a pentagram on the floor. That's all. For art, it's art. That's all.
We could do it if you're open-minded to
The
it.
candles at the corners, it's the ambiance.
Yeah.
And if a ghost comes up or if something comes up, a spirit comes up, it does. I mean,
You just gotta not give anything too much power like that, you know? Nah, fuck that.
we can talk about sound design with it.
If we can't have a dog, we can't have a demon, okay?
Why not?
Because I want a dog.
Would a demon be interested in a three-way?
Jesus Christ. What?
I'm all about supernatural experiences, Ian.
This is why her and I are together.
Because supernatural experiences.
Pentagrams aren't evil. That's just the pervert, evil child predator church. Pentagrams are holy, sacred geometry. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, sacred geometry. We got lots of that.
Yeah, it's a stereotype about Satanism? There's a lot of like
Yeah.
inaccurate stereotypes especially about Wiccan too, like people who identify with Wiccan and who follow that kind of set of beliefs. You know, they respect nature. You're supposed to respect animals and nature. It's very like with the earth, but people are like, oh my God, witches and Wiccan. I'm like, no, it's not what it is, man.
Crystal's batch. Don't fuck with me.
And I'm not Wiccan, but
I'll smack
I've read
you with-
about it. What, you'll
Smack
what?
you with some amethyst. Call it an amethyst. Ooh.
This quartz is gonna set you right.
That was good too.
Who was it? Oh my God! Somebody tried to market bottled water that
Yeah, I
had
agree.
been poured over like crystals and diamonds and stuff, and it was a huge markup. It's like crystal water. They just poured it over.
I would rather buy something from Belle Delphine. You know, she sells bath water. We could drink it. Whoa. Oh, I just almost threw up. That's so nasty. Anyways, yeah, I agree. You know, I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what you subscribe to, as long as you're subscribed to my channel. No, I'm just kidding.
We do have a philosophical question. If you drink bath water with somebody else's body fluids in it, is that cheating?
Oh my God. You tell me.
That's what we're asking. Let us know
If you-
in the chat.
If you ain't boofing pink quartz, you're a coward straight up. Yeah. No, I joke, but
Crystals is dildos, what?
crystal dildos?
I don't know.
That sounds
I
painful.
know, right?
That's definitely cheating. It's definitely cheating.
Will that align my chakras though?
You should ask Belle Delphine. Drinking Belle's bathwater is cheating, then any dildo is also cheating.
That's fair. It's a good point. I like the logic.
That's true. I love my chat. I love my partner. Maybe like this. That's really cool. Thanks, Kat. You just reminded me that this was supposed to be an 85. Hey, long time no see, by the way. Welcome. So the reason why this was hanging out at 87 was this is my reference track, and I suppose if I pitch this, U85, okay, maybe to the point beyond recognition or something, like -7 semitones or something. Yeah, this song is so fucking cool. Yeah, so that was my reference track, and that's kind of what I'm trying to kind of do. Just coming in to say hi. Hey, Artifacts. Everybody, go subscribe to Artifacts channel. Say hello. Say hello. Hello. Yo, Alckemy, what's poppin'? I'm just gonna like... what's poppin'? Satanism right now. No, I'm kidding. Yellow. I don't know how to read that name, so I'm just gonna say like bowling pin. What up, bowling pin? Hey, Ironworks, welcome. I said hi to Masfa. Levi is chopping up with me. Okay, just making sure that I said hello to everybody. Y'all can say hello to these. No, I'm just joking. Working on some music myself, trying to make order of a chaotic mess of a project. I feel that's kind of like I'm going to have to make some like in a second I'm gonna have to veer off of what I was going for and just start making other creative decisions in order to kind of tune this out, because I don't know how to get any closer to what I was going for without just like outright getting into copying and stuff, and that's not really what I'm aiming to do. But you know, it's like you listen to a reference and you're like you try to get closer and you try to get closer and you try to get closer, and then at some point you have to be like, I am not this person and I am not at their skill level, and you just got to move on. So at the same time though, like I do like this beat and there's a lot of interesting things about it, but I'm trying to just kind of find something that I can use to help create more interest for the main section, so that way it gives me inspiration for what to do for the next pieces of it. Too many channels to deal with and keep my sanity, if I get what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely... What's northern Texas like? I have no idea. Hey NX, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. It is so good to see you. Good to see all of you. All right. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to take all of this and just move it over one more. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then I think that I actually want to duplicate this. And then I'm going to duplicate this. And now at this point, what I'm focusing on is you've got the main section. Oh no, that's not what I want to do. Insert key marker. You know, that's it. Okay, yeah, I'll write that down. That's a good request. Thank you for mentioning that. Main section, switch up. And then I'll just write an outro for this. Damn it. Insert key marker. Outro. So yeah, the reason why I did that was because now, even if I can't figure out what I want to do with this by the end of the day, it's just a matter of like, all right, here's a beginning, here's a middle, here's an end. And that's, I've kind of been talking about that a lot with people as of late. And I just recently put out a video on like how to finish music and how to like, how to step away from something and have good habits of like, instead of just leaving this as this 8-bar loop and not knowing what to do with it, at least just like, whatever, duplicate it. It sounds interesting. Lead it into something else and then like fade it out or whatever. Because I don't want to just do this and then walk away from it. You know what I mean? And that's part of the reason why I like doing these beats so much, is because they're kind of like, the structure of them is more simplified. I don't have to worry about having like immense drastic changes to the composition. I can just say, okay, we're going to bang our heads for 2 minutes and kind of jam out to this, feel the vibe, and then let it pass. And then that makes it also easier to get into like the next beat or whatever. So, you know, even though there's a lot of puzzle pieces to fill within this stuff, as in like, you know, still trying to give the track like a soul or a vibe or something that's like, something that helps complete the idea within this, because we've kind of gone through the trouble of that, you know, it's, even if it's just a sketch or whatever, you still have like a stencil now, if that makes sense. I want to move there, but the lack of force is alarming. Nah, dude, don't. To Texas. Hell no. Fuck.
They better get ready to deal with all the trans and homophobic bills then.
Yeah, there's the...
Don't move there if you're non-binary or LGBT. Warning. Or if you're an ethnic minority, beware.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you're ethnic minority, non or LGBT or trans, that's not. Yeah, and I got Corona. Did you? Shit, dude, I'm sorry to hear that. Isn't Northern Texas also tornado country? Central Texas is. I got the Rona and a bass slap. What? You just tested positive. Are you feeling okay? Sorry to hear that. Sends virtual soup. That's what Corey says. Sends virtual soup and get well soon. But yeah, I got a nice 5-string bass. Right on. You can do like a sound design blast here or something. Fossey just released a note. Bass slapping shows 100% effectiveness in curing the COVID. Okay. We better get right on that and tell the sheriff. Actually, no, I don't want sheriffs anywhere near me. so far it's not difficult to play. It's just holding it feels off. I don't want to lay it down in my lap and just top down, but I know it's incorrect technically. I mean, yeah, I guess, but yeah, there's no rules. I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, play it, you know. I think it's important to understand, like, why it's played the way that it is, right? Because that's something that's really cool about learning about instruments is that they all have a particular anatomy for a reason. But, you know, once you understand the structure, you can break the structure. Or, you know, you're an artist, so do whatever the fuck you want. But, you know, that would just be my advice. Alright, so I wrote some chords. try it again. It reminds you of Dark Trap. Interesting. Hey, Dragisa. Long time no see, man. It's been a long time. How are you? I keep up with you on Facebook sometimes. Oh, you recently switched to Bitwig? That's awesome. Another one bites the dust. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I can give you Bitwig. I can give you Bitwig. The grid? Oh, you don't have to use it. I hardly ever use it. Yeah, I'm curious, like, what, you know, people always ask me, like, you know, oh, do you regret switching, or, you know, what do you miss in Ableton? And I'm kind of curious of, like, how that spans to you, and also, like, if you have any questions about it, you know, because I made the switch as well, so if you have any questions about that. It says that I have a new member, that I got a new member during this chat, but I don't see any notifications on this. So somebody signed up. Thank you so much. I don't know who that is though. Who's that? And why did I not get a notification for it? Whoever that is, thank you. fill in this pluck. I do like the melody, but I'm trying to think about just something musical to add to this. So far so good. Digging the features. You like the mini mixer in the bottom of the screen is bomb. The mini mixer? Oh, this thing? Yeah, this is really cool. I forgot about this. Oh my god, dude. Thanks for reminding me. I totally forgot about this. Okay, I intuitively guessed that you hit M for that shortcut. So the next time I get into a mixing environment or something, I will do as such. Yeah, it's so simple yet so useful. I use that mixer all the time. Well, okay, Mr. People hoopa doopa doo. Leave brother out, whatever. No, I'm kidding. That's yeah. I never say that I know everything about this program. Except I know everything about this program now. No. I'm constantly learning stuff about the tools that I keep using. And that's why I haven't really been interested in any other synthesizers or plugins or anything, just because there's so much that I'm figuring out just with this other stuff alone. I'm just going to use a preset and see what comes out. Okay, actually, I like that riff a lot, and then maybe I can bring that somewhere else. Okay, so now I've got a little motif that I can use to such genius melodies. Not really, but it works. Thanks, I appreciate it. I think I steal a lot of melodies from games. And a lot of times I don't really know what I'm playing, but there's some generic ones that always sound good, you know? Hold on. Like that one, that was amazing, right? Like, you know, stuff like that is really, I have a large affinity to. Stuff like that. Na, 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 na. So that one, or that one. Yeah, so just really simple shit like that has been done a million times over or whatever. But I like those, and you know, I hear those in games all the time, and so like anytime that I'm like not really sure what to do, that comes out. So that would explain where the nostalgia comes in. Oh yeah, I can't, no. Those aren't original melodies by any means. But something I find interesting that I haven't really discussed is like the idea about how you come up with melodies and create things more complex, because something that I do to find chords is I usually write either like a bass line or a simple melody, and then I create chords out of it. And then a lot of times I'll use the chords to create melodies with the arpeggiator. So it's kind of like this feeding trade system. But what I think about too is like, you know, classical composition and stuff, about how they have so many melodies or like these embellishments and stuff that are like these phrases and all that, and how they use that to like narrate whatever it is that they're doing, or I don't know, or just express something rather. So it's kind of cool to think about taking something simple like that. Like let's say you have just like 4 notes of a bass line, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in between you add those little variations or those little, yeah, I guess I already said the word, but embellishments in between that. And then what I have trouble, or what I used to have trouble with, which is why I use the arpeggiator, is getting things to swing in that hip hop halftime feel, right? You want to swing? You're not ready for that. And so focus. And so with that, being able to like create that kind of off rhythm, and then hearing those same melodies, but in that context, right? Because like there's a bunch of different ways to express those same note changes, I guess would be the best way to describe that. It helps kind of fit the platform or the genre that I'm trying to go for, and that's why that tool is incredibly helpful to me. I covered it in a recent video, but holy shit, dude, the arpeggiator in Bitwig is so nice. Long story short, it's so good. And like, I don't really do this. Like, I always talk about it in concept, but I never use it in tunes. But like, one thing that's really interesting is like, if you create these racks in here, oh crap, these are effect layer. Can I convert to, yeah, you can convert this to a selector. And so what you can do is either choose a different one, which is really cool, or you can set up some kind of modulator on this, like a random, and have this match between these that all have different arpeggiator settings, right? So like, oh man, there's just so much cool shit that you can do with this program, man. That's why I love it so much. Is like, there's just, the only reason why you shouldn't be able to make music in this is you don't know the program well enough, or there's so many options that you just get overwhelmed. And I find myself running into that a lot. But because I keep discovering things, because I keep finding out new stuff about this program, and that it teaches me how to do a lot of tasks that normally would take me a long time, in a very short amount of time, mind you. There's no other synthesizers or anything or on the market that I'm like, oh man, I really want that, or I really need to do that. And you know, I will say, I can't say anything like specific, but if you are not paying attention to kilohearts, you should be checking their Twitter every day. Wink, wink, hint, 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 wink, hint, wink, hint. That's all I can say. But yeah, between Bitwig and Faceplant, like that's I don't need anything else. I make everything in that. I make the drums, the bass, the everything in this is from Faceplant. This whole entire project is from Faceplant. And if it's not, then it's from resampling of Faceplant. So, or Snap Heap or something. But yeah, it's been so much fun to just be like, oh, I just have one synthesizer and I can make every single sound that I want out of it, and then put it together and see how it comes out. So, yeah. Anywho. Hey man, I'm on the run at the moment, but I'm thinking of joining the highest tier. For a year, will I be able to translate your workflow to Ableton? I know you used to use it. Yes, I believe so. I think that like, I think if you want, send me a message and let's have a conversation, because the biggest thing is I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to answer all of your questions within that. As much as I would love to have you as a member and all that, I definitely want to make sure that you're getting value. And while I would say yes, I'm more than happy to spend a couple minutes with you and be like, oh, okay, here's some stuff to consider, or here's how this translates and all that. Yeah, because I don't want anybody to feel left out. And like for the member stuff that I have, like I want people to be like, this was worth it. You know, I never want somebody to walk away and be like, this wasn't worth doing. Member of what? Did you reactivate your Patreon? No, so I do YouTube memberships now. And sorry guys, just a quick detour on this stuff, but I've got 4 tiers of memberships, and the first one is just so you can have access to the VODs, which I would recommend for anybody that wants to see how all this stuff is made. And then I also tried to like give people leeway for that. So if you notice, I leave my streams in public for a few days and then I put them into the VODs, because again, I don't want to gatekeep anybody from information. Then there's a second tier, which is kind of just a higher tier support where I give out samples and stuff. And then the next tier of Alcahest, I give out presets for Faceplant and project files and all that. And then the Arcana members, I actually have master classes on like drums and production and stuff. And I'm continuously working on more. Right now I'm piecing together the halftime, how to make halftime. So how to make like these kinds of beats and stuff. But I'm kind of trying to do it to a point that will be very organized and not run into, you know, what I'm running into now, which is, you know, like, I don't know what to do with this track. So, yeah, I'm going to do one over that. I have one over intelligent dance music. I was just checking the members only of Alchemy Neuro. Yeah, that's all I have is just the Alchemy Neuro stuff. Yeah, I think the courses for bass design are pretty much all within Faceplant. And one thing that you will be able to translate is the sampler. So, and that's another thing that I have coming out too, is like how to write bass lines and stuff. But the big thing that you will have to translate between Bitwig and Ableton, which you can just use either a granular sampler or the built-in one, is setting the velocity of this to change the sample position start. So essentially what that means is if I were to draw in a note here and I change the velocity, it's just going to change the sample start. And then everything else is in Faceplant. So, and even still, you should be able to take a lot of those ideas and like you can use modulators and all that within Ableton. It's just kind of annoying. But if you build racks and all that and you save those as presets, then you can do that. If you have Faceplant, even if you don't have the full version for the Alcahest members and stuff, I've got tons of those like generative presets. You just have to make sure that you go into the Discord and grab them. But I have snares that I've made, how to make hi-hats and shakers. This is one of those basses, pad stuff, Bitwig presets. These you won't be able to use, of course, but yeah, Ultra Bass Maker. This is the template for that masterclass. Yeah, so just tons of shit in here for anybody that is wanting to have access to that. And then of course I give out like lots of samples and stuff out here. Kicks and snares. Lots of stuff. So really just trying to, you know, fill people up with content and keep you all inspired. And I always take like questions and comments and suggestions and stuff. So, you know, if you have anything or have any idea about how I can do better, I want to know, because I'm not here to waste your time nor your money. So yeah, and thanks for that. It took me 4 years to adjust. Thanks for answering. Oh, you just switched from Cubase? Yeah, Cubase was the first DAW that I purchased, and I did not like it whatsoever. I think you can teach this old man a couple of stuff, but we'll talk. Yeah, I think I can too. I think that like I'm kind of clinical when it comes to describing some of this stuff, to where it's a matter of like, here's a function and then all that. And then when it comes to having a discussion about no, no, you cannot leave. No, you don't. You stay. Sorry. Yeah, kind of clinical with like the technical stuff, and then I talk about possibilities of like how to cultivate an imagination around that. Because to me, the hardest stuff that I've gone through with this genre, if anybody has any specific interest in this piece, in this kind of music whatsoever, the two hardest things that I ran into was, one, figuring out how to use basses like this, you know, just like neuro basses or whatever in context, and two, figuring out how to get rhythms that are, you know, like super swung like this. Swung. Yeah, and then these beats, as I've been making, are a pretty recent discovery. Thank you, Cage. Sometimes he pops in stream. I don't think he's here right now, but that dude showed me so many things that I was like, man, I can't believe I didn't think of this myself. But at the same time, like, it all made so much sense, and so I am forever in gratitude for him teaching me how to actually finally make halftime music. And then I went and watched Cheese Masterclass, which I would highly recommend, regardless of what DAW you're in. If you like this kind of music, I still go through it, not every day, but like maybe every other day, just because the amount of information that he covers that's relative and you're able to apply is so dense and so rich. And what I like most about that class is that not only does he teach you the ropes of it, but the song that he makes from scratch is actually really good. And that's something that's pretty rare, and that's why I'm a little bit apprehensive to make stuff. For me, it's about the designs, learning how to do stuff. Dude, that's the easy part. It's difficult to figure out on your own, but once someone shows you how to do it, it gets really easy. There's a couple of key things to keep in mind of like how to prepare yourself to make it usable whenever you get into it. But I think that especially with the tools that we have available in this modern day and age, it's becomes more accessible than ever. The thing is, though, is that I don't know how long you've been making music, but I started trying to make neurobass since 2014, where I was watching a lot of stuff from Frequent and like Bass Gorilla, and I've even taken lessons from him and stuff, and he's shown me quite a lot. But then once I saw it, and you know, once he kind of showed me the way that he does some things, not everything, of course, but all that, I was able to apply that and be like, oh, this is the formula. The formula! For any of you SpongeBob fans. So understanding that was like, okay, this makes sense now. And it's weird because I still get so many views on the first comprehensive guide to neurobass, and now I'm really trying to direct everybody at least to season 3. Season 4 would be great because it's a masterclass, whatever, and you know, I've kind of changed this YouTube thing from like not so much a hobby but more into a business. But even still, the Comprehensive Guide to Neurobass 3 has so much information in it that is up to date and still very close to what I'm doing today, that you can get so much out of it. Even if you just take a piece of it, you know, let's say you don't get through all episodes, because I think there's like 6 different episodes. It will teach you the mechanics about how you can do that. You can't do it in one day, just about practice. Well, you can get to there though, right? Like it takes me like 30 minutes to design a bass. And it used to take me like 4 days. It used to take me like, a really long time to design something that I'm happy with. But at this point, of understanding the formula, and then understanding that a formula is meant to be like a guideline, and then you have variables that you can change within it. You know, it's the same thing as cooking. Like, I'm gonna add more salt, I'm gonna add more, you know, garlic, or maybe I'm gonna switch out garlic for, or granulated garlic for fresh garlic or something. You know, it makes those subtle differences, and having that understanding and the understanding of the relationship between how the effects interact with each other. That's kind of redundant, sorry, but that is sound design. Sound design, in a nutshell, is familiarizing yourself with the terms, with the vocabulary, understanding what each effect is. So understanding like what a phaser sounds like, what, you know, specific distortion types sound like. It's just a glossary. And then once you do that, then you just start putting that stuff together, and then you see how it interacts with each other, and, you know, make sure that you put a limiter at the end, and there you go. That is sound design. And I think that like there's this mysticism behind it that, you know, that you can't figure out a lot of stuff or whatever, but you can train your ear to hear a lot of things. Our ears are so nuanced. You know, I'm sure everybody knows what a taxi sounds like. I'm sure everybody knows what a sheep sounds like, what a goat sounds like, you know, what a TV noise, you know, sounds like. And we're familiar with these things because we've heard them over and over again, or we have some kind of relevance to it of like, we've seen it in our daily lives. Sound design is no different. It's just kind of teaching yourself to recognize like specific things. And then what you do is you start combining those things that you're familiar with, and you create new outcomes with that. And then it gets really fun because once you kind of have said and done that, you know, like let's say you're really familiar with like pads, or you're really familiar with making leads, or, you know, you've done super saws to death or whatever, then you get into where I'm at and a lot of my peers are at, which is just experimental stuff, where you say, okay, I'm going to send a signal through a crap ton of effects, and then I'm going to put certain parameters in there to give it just a little bit of control, and then let it go wild and see what comes out. And that is where we are today with my current state anyways of neurobase. I hope somebody was listening to me, because I just gave you all the secrets. That is the secret to, I just gave you all the secrets to sound design in a nutshell. The recognition takes some time, but once you get that, then, you know, then that's pretty much it. And yeah, it gets really fun. Yeah, imitate sheep and synths, got it. Yay! I'm all ears. But I mean, I said this in, yeah, I agree with that too. Create your own sounds. Don't worry about copying other people. In fact, like, I'm anti-copy now. I think that there's a point where it can be useful when you're just trying to figure out, you know, like a program or something, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm learning that this knob does this or whatever. But I think that reading the manual is probably more useful than trying to copy YouTube tutorial patches or whatever. But if you think about it, like, every synthesizer has a same approach. I can't think of a synthesizer that does not have a different approach. But what you do is you start with a source, right, which is an oscillator or some kind of thing that generates sound, and then you do you add some kind of process to it, whether it be FM, whether it be effects, whether it be filtering, or, you know, panning, or all that. So you're really just stacking procedures onto your sound that creates something complex. It's all simple shit just put together, right? And that's part of the reason why, like, with knowing that, why I have been averse to like really going deep and down into the grid, is because there is some vocabulary in there that I'm still unfamiliar with, you know, especially like the logic functions and all that. I don't have that vocabulary yet. So, and I know that, and that's kind of why I'm not really like worried about approaching that. But when it comes from like a strict sound design perspective, you know, if I were to show you guys any of the sounds that I make, hold on one second. That's a kick. That's a snare. That's a clap. Here we go. So the main bass that I made for this particular tune, turn all this stuff off. You start with a simple waveform, maybe a wavetail or whatever. Then you start adding effects, filter, distortion, filter, FM, and then you just stack effects in this way. And then once you have something like that, then you stack some more effects. And then, but like, these are just repeats of the same stuff, right? Reverb, flanger, comb filter, phaser, delay, chorus. Like, this is stuff everybody has. Distortion, convolution reverb, delay, chorus, filter. Hey, Andrew. Phase plant will be a requirement for this. You can get kind of far. You can get kind of far in with Serum or Vital, but phase plant is the meta right now. Hold on, guys. My partner's getting ready to leave, and I need to make sure that she knows that I'm going to miss her. When she goes, I'm gonna miss you, babe.
Stitch I love you too. Don't do no seances without me, right? I want to see that demon.
Make sure you bring it home.
Okay. Bring it back.
Do you need anything? No? Let me know if you want me to make some tea for you or something when you get home.
Okay.
Love you. I really try to be mindful of like giving her the time of day and making sure that she knows that she matters. Because I get so wrapped up in this stuff and in my work and in my training and all of the other projects that I do, right, for the gaming channel, for my instructor's YouTube channel and all that shit. So I have to like really make sure that I'm like, make time for her, you know, or like make sure that I acknowledge her presence. Because that's, you know, if you have a partner or you have a significant other or, you know, you live with somebody, I think that stuff goes a long way. And I could get better at it, of course, but you know what I mean. Serum is also an amazing plugin. It is, but Serum is limited just because you only have one list of effects. And the thing is that you can use Serum effects, but the problem with it is that you can only use one instance of that list of effects. And that drives me crazy. I don't like that. But you know, you can use the Ableton modulators if you have Max for Live, you know, to do all the filtering stuff. And then you can just duplicate that and then set up a frequency rack and all that. So like if you are familiar with sound design in that aspect, then you can essentially make every single thing. You can make every single like device rack or whatever that you can in Faceplant. And then you can definitely get away with something like Operator or whatever. And actually, I would say that more important than Faceplant, like if you're on a budget or something, I would recommend just doing, for one, I would recommend doing the kilohearts subscription model. But for whatever reason, if you can't, I would at least get Multipass, and Snap Heap is free. And if you are interested in bass, the key things that I say like are absolutely essential towards making these kinds of sounds are the distortion units and slice EQ. So this stuff is great, whatever. But the distortion units and slice EQ is the most important aspect to building neurobass, because you can make custom filters like this, and then you need to be able to distort it. So between these two effects, like this will probably, you can throw any synth into this. And that's why I love this ecosystem so much, because I could just as easily pull up something like, you know, let's say I don't have Faceplant, but I have Vital. I have a free Vital bank that you guys can get on my website. It's Bespoke is cool too. I don't know what that is, but hi, Steven. Yeah, so if you guys are interested in any of that stuff, just go to my website and download it. It's like pay what you want. You can just put 0. I have something for everybody. So yeah, in the same sense, right, you can do a lot of processing within Vital or whatever and get pretty far and get something kind of like this. Sorry. Right. But in that sense, right, if you have Multipass, then you can pretty much pull up any of these presets, or you can make your own or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But you can see here that I can use these racks from Faceplant and just turn those on. Let's say, oh, hold on one second. Sorry, I have to turn this on. There we go. So, and then you can just kind of cycle through these filters. Sorry, that's really loud. Hold on one sec. Find one you like, and there you go. But it's just understanding how to build the racks, right? And that's what all that stuff comes into. So, you know, like I said, even if you don't have faceplant, if you have multipass or snap heap, because I think that like actually you can make multipass within snap heap. So I would say like you don't even have to have multipass. It's just more convenient. You could just as easily, which I've done, you know, go into this and then pull up, like just do like a high-low split or a low mid-high. And yeah, there's one right here. So here's my low split. And then here's my high split. It says covenant filter, but that's a generator. Sorry. Let me find a different rack. Narrow filter snap. Here we go. Just separate the low end from the high end, and then it's the same deal where you've got all that stuff, and then you just turn this on, turn the mix on, and it's kind of the same deal, right? So these environments are definitely useful, but they're not essential because, like I said as well, once you understand how all this stuff works, you can do this in anything. And I've done this, and I've done this in Bitwig as well. So, you know, people that don't have faceplant or whatever, I've gone and made presets of the same aspect in Bitwig, all with first-party effects. So you start with the same source sound, you open this up. Here's my neural processor with a low, mid, and high band. It's got, you know, custom filters, which a parametric EQ is like kind of essential for this kind of stuff. And then it's also got the generators to where it will randomize the sounds. So like, and then the most complicated aspect of this isn't even the sound design. It's setting up this shit, setting this stuff up to make it work in the way that it's supposed to. That was probably one of the biggest tricks to that. So, no, I haven't. I don't have VCV rack. I reached out to them to ask if they would like send me like maybe an NFR or like a trial or something that I could demo it. I know that it's technically free, but the VST version was what I was interested in. So that's what I wanted to review, but I hadn't received a response from them. So I kind of just let it go. But I'm sure I could, you know, I'm sure I could. You can pretty much toss anything at me with Neurobase and I can be like, all right, well, I can figure it out. I wish Reaper's modulation was half as extensive as Bitwig's. It's still cool that they have modulation though, right? I think like a lot of features that are in Bitwig, people were saying that you can do in Reaper as well at a much more cost-effective entry point. So yeah, I mean, the reason why I particularly choose faceplant is because of the speed of the environment. So the fact that you can work in a vertical manner of just like effect, boom, effect, boom, effect, like that's really hard to beat. That is like this workflow here is super difficult to beat. So bad idea. I hear the dev of VCV is not particularly good when it comes to NFRs or criticism. Well, I mean, even if they say no, I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't care if they say yes or no. It was just like, hey, are you interested in doing some kind of collaboration or whatever? And that's no disrespect to them if they're not interested, but like, I think that for me, it's not really something that I want to spend money on. So I don't really care to do that. But I mean, I've made Neurobase within the grid, and if I can do it within the grid, then I can do it within any modular environment. Because again, it's no different. The only thing that I would like to see like change within the grid is actually having like dedicated effect modules, for example, like dedicated reverb, dedicated compressors and stuff. And like, I know that you can build it, but building up like 7 or 8 effects just to send a signal through that, like that's, no. Hey Bugman, long time no see. Cardinal works for me, VCV not. I can't install VCV, right? Gotcha. using FL and their plugin called Patcher. It's like Bitwig design sound mixing. Yeah, I know of Patcher. Patcher is awesome, like, because you can throw third-party VSTs in there. I don't like Patcher because it has like no modulators. So it's almost like a tease, right? Because it's like, oh, look, you can create these complex routing things or whatever and have like multiple instances of XYZ, but because they don't have any like LFOs or randomizers or anything like that, they might have peak controllers. So maybe you can add like a simple LFO to it or something, but it's not enough for me. How am I doing since my last illness? I'm good, man. I'm just hanging out and I'm working on a tune, but I'm kind of lost and stuck. My inspiration has kind of run out. I think like I've been working myself really hard, just trying to stabilize my life and stuff, and I'm just tired. You can do that with VCVREC if you get a module called Host, which is another add-on. Oh, I see. So you have to pay for it. You should make them by yourself. Well, that's what I'm saying, is like, that's what I don't want to do. Like, I don't want to open up the grid and then be like, I have to make a compressor. I have heard of Biome. It's like $300, isn't it? Like $30. Yeah, I wonder, like, how much do you think the entire ecosystem of VCVREC costs? Well, 30 or less. I thought Biome is like $300. Yeah, okay, it's not 300, it's 250. That's a pretty hefty asking price. So here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna wait for you to type that out. I want to listen to what I've been working on and see if I hear anything different for now. Okay, I'm asking you for permission. Yeah, I figured. Alright, so I would add a pad sound. I don't know, maybe. I'm trying to identify what I actually want to do with this, because I'm not really sure yet. But it's coming along. Like, it's interesting and I enjoy this a lot, but I'm trying to think about what I can add to give it some kind of life or some kind of, some kind of soul. Yeah, never buy PA stuff at full price. I have a sub to the Mix Master bundle, which is most of the unfiltered audio stuff. It's really good. You pay $30 a month, and by the end of the month, they will give you a voucher you can use to get any plugin for $30. Plugin Alliance prices are fiction. Sales are basically monthly. I would add a pad sound. According to the Plugin Alliance itself, reselling vouchers is allowed. You can buy it for even less than $30. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, like, you came in a little bit later in the stream, but I was kind of expressing earlier that there wasn't really any kind of plugin or anything of the sort that I'm like, I need this or I want this. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I have. I think that now I'm really just trying to focus on like using the tools that I have chosen, the tools that I have cultivated all of my skill in, and just trying to get better at it, right? I think that like that was one of the biggest traps that I ran into. I can't tell you how much money I spent on music production software, and I'm sure all of you guys are probably looking at yourself in the mirror right now being like, yeah, me too. No offense, but you know, we've all been there. So I finally kind of hit this stride with my DAW, and then also with, you know, the sound design tools that I've kind of gotten myself into, and that's why I advocate them so much, because it keeps on giving back to me. And maybe until I exhaust those options indefinitely, I don't really see any reason to be like, oh, well, I need to learn more shit, because right now I'm not worried about sound design anymore. There was a time that I was, right? Like, how do I make the best sounds? How do I make, you know, the coolest shit, whatever. But there comes a point in I think everyone's sound design career, especially if you're walking the same path as I am, of like, I don't need plugins anymore. I need to use these plugins to make music, you know? Yeah. It's same. There's some stuff that's come out that I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Oh, that's kind of cool. And then it's like, no big deal. I think VC Rack is interesting if you're having serious plans with physical side of the modular. It's otherwise very distracting, those machines. Yeah, and I think that I could probably do fine just getting by with the grid. The only thing I think I still want is a good set of contact libraries for violins, pianos, and stuff. Yeah, and I did take the plunge, and I did buy Complete Ultimate 13 when it was on sale. So I have all that stuff, right? I just turned 18 a few months ago, so I haven't spent too much money on plugins yet. Yeah, don't. Don't. If I can give you any advice, unless if you're somebody that will probably give you a different take, would be somebody like Data Broth, because he is kind of a wizard at like every single plugin, and he thoroughly enjoys like opening up new plugins and patches and stuff, and loves to do that kind of stuff. And I respect that. And I think that, you know, there's nothing wrong with having that as a hobby. Just know that it's an expensive ass hobby, right? But if you are, let's say, a newer producer, and you want to make music, don't fuck around with buying a bunch of plugins and shit and then be like, I'm going to learn how to use these one day, and this plugin is going to be the one that's going to help me make music. I can answer all those questions for you. I believe I can anyways. What kind of music you want to make? Here's what you need. It's probably going to be Faceplant. Faceplant is like the last frontier of synthesizers, in my opinion, except for, you know, specific use cases like additive, spectral, or granular. But other than that, for FM, for I'd say like 95% of what I want to do, what's it called? Like, I make drums in Faceplant. I make pads. I make, you know, plucks, neurobass to the most insane degree, soundscapes, everything that you want to do as far as like describing a sound design family, and an ecosystem that keeps giving back, that you can carry with you to whatever DAW and like share presets and stuff. Just fucking Faceplant. Faceplant is the last synth you need to buy. Unless if you're more about presets, then Contact or Omnisphere would be a good choice. I'm done with buying all these VSTs seriously. Just like samples too. I want to make my own kicks. Sick and tired of browsing for those things. Okay, so exactly. And that's why I've kind of taken that plunge of the master classes and stuff, because I'm like, whenever I start a new tune, I do everything from scratch. And I'm not against using samples. I'm not against using presets or anything of the sort. I'm just tired of fucking scrolling. That is why I decided to take the plunge to learn my own sound design, was because I found myself scrolling through sounds and like auditioning shit and hoping that I find something, as opposed to just making the sound and then being like, all right, I'm gonna use that. I'm just gonna make something out of this. And I think that like, you know, if you already know what you're going for and you already have like a go-to preset or whatever, yeah, just do that for sure, by all means. But if you open up an empty canvas and you don't know what to do, and you're hoping that you are going to find a sound that's going to give you an idea that's going to carry you all the way through a track, I don't think that it helps with cultivating imagination in that way. I don't think that it's helpful in the long run. So by no means do I think that people have to like, do their own sound design to make good music. I just was really tired of falling into that trap. I got really sick of being like, oh, I don't know what I want. I want to make music, but I don't know what I want to make. And then, being like, oh, how does this kick sound? Oh, how does this, what does this sound like? How is this? Fuck that, man. It's too much hassle. I would rather make shitty sounds and start to try to play with that and develop my own signature like style than be like, I know this kick exists in here somewhere. I know it's in here somewhere. So what IMO is really good, a study library of risers, whooshes, impacts, because when you're in the zone, it's nice to chug those in and change them later if needed. It's become, but even for me, like it's become so easy to make that stuff that it's like, I would say those things that you're describing, like by all means, like, yeah, for sure. If that's helpful to you, but those are actually like some of the easiest things to synthesize if you have a beat, because all you have to do is literally something like this. Okay. Here's riser 101. Are you ready? So we've got this. I'm just going to take this. I'm going to resample it. And now we have a piece of audio. All you have to do is, is move this over here. We're going to solo this. Check this out. We are going to just take a piece of this like that. Stretch it out some more. Double click, pitch. And if you want, this is probably all you like really have to do. And I have tutorials on this stuff, but the reason why I like doing it this way is because I'm using a part of the tune that's already been there, so I know it's going to work. But you grab yourself a reverb, and you start off. You can do this in either way of like either starting dry or starting wet or whatever. But now that we have this, look. Boom, you're done. That's it. And if you don't like this, then you can just reset this and then scroll through here. Go to audio events and just pick something different. So maybe. Okay, so look, here is a snare, and like we can see that from the waveform. So now I will just take this and do the same thing, and this will kind of lead up into that suction sound or whatever. And then I'm going to do the same pitch envelope, which is starting from here, and let it go up, except this is going to go really high. And then you have a riser. So like that shit is so easy. And like, even if you want to have some kind of transitional thing or whatever, like let's say I don't want this to be, I'm still going to do this, but I don't want it to be a transition, but I'll bounce this out. So that way the pitch is preserved. And then we can come into this little clip right here and just set this to an exponential rhythm. And then this will kind of lead up in a way that we normally do. So you know, and then you do the same thing where you leave this up and you pitch it just like this, and then like it's, yeah, thanks Bitwig. But that's why I'm like, I don't need a sample pack for that. I'll just take whatever I have. I'll take whatever like I'm already working with or already making, and then just be like, oh, I'll just make one that I know is going to fit with the song because it's the same shit. And it doesn't have to be with the master or whatever. It could be with, you know, you could just take the snare, or you can just take a piece of this and stretch it out and pitch it up and automate it. So it's super fucking easy to do that stuff. I hate searching for stuff, and trust me, almost 50, an IT engineer, and I'm sick and tired of searching for stuff. Yeah, I feel that. The only thing I want right now is a decent modular effect modulation ecosystem, since your DAW doesn't have one, and I definitely don't have the money for Toolbox Ultimate, so I'll go for Triad. Well, you can also do the subscription model though, right? Which, you know, I understand if that's not what you want to do, but the subscription model for $10 a month, you can use my discount code and get it for $9 a month, which isn't big, but it adds up. Yeah, like, I don't know, that's pretty affordable, I'd say, but I understand if that's not what you're going for. Some people just want to own something, and I can't really fault that, but I think that the options exist. That would be bad at all. I'll try to sell some. I did try a lot a couple years back. Still management light, too much stuff. I've been meaning to set up a macro to do this in Cubase. Cut the first 80 milliseconds, basically the transient, reverse the clip, pitch it up 1 octave with an envelope, instant art. Yeah, it's the same thing. Kilohearts doesn't have a granulator. It does have a granular effect though, which pitch shifter is actually really good. And it doesn't have a granular synth, of course, for sure, but you can abuse it in so many other ways that it doesn't really matter. I like the new gen of sound designers that build it all in a couple of synths. Triad versus phase plant. There's pros and cons to either approach. Does Triad have a granular synth built into it? So it's just a granular effect. All right, so I'm going to add this layer on here. And then I'm going to turn it down a bit. Just kind of add that on the first beat of every bar. And then maybe what I'll do is play with, I'm going to place this, hold on. I'm going to label this as texture. And then I've got this melody stuff that I need to take out of here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Snoop Diggity Dog and Dr. Dre is at your door. Toss that into the melodics, pull that out of the bass. Percussion, bass, melodics, and I think there was one more channel in here. That was, yeah, so that goes in texture. So my tracks and stuff aren't necessarily labeled, but at the same time, it's still somewhat organized. There's a plugin version of Pure Data. I don't know what that is. Styles, how are you? Right on. How's the workday going? Grind seems to be going well. It's cool. I hadn't made much progress today, to be honest. But it's fine. I'm kind of just hanging out and talking with chat and having something in the background to listen to. And I think maybe I'll just do something simple right here. Just do a fill. Where's this at? I'm gonna place that right there. And then also we'll do a little guy right there. Yeah, I don't personally like where an office is meh as usual, but it is what it is. Yeah, I hear you. I don't really like. I do enjoy the semi-modular environment from Faceplant, but I don't really care so much about grid stuff. That's not really my thing. I think that like it's fun to dabble in, but it's not really something that, you know, I'm like, oh man, this is I need this. That option true for your affiliate link for Faceplant would be nice. I find that you prioritize other stuff at the moment. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just hit me up and let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And I want you to make an informed decision on that kind of stuff and make sure that you feel like you're making the right choice. And we can kind of go from there. All right, I think one other thing that I wanted to do with this was I'm not really happy with this pad. Yeah, of course, anytime. So I might just start over on this and see if I can make something else. Let's see how that sounds. See ya. Have a good day. You're gonna hear the reverb of the speakers in here. I'm gonna listen to this loud, so sorry if it gets annoying. Alright, so one thing I'm going to try with this is to just kind of have like a really cool... I say this, it's going to be generic as fuck, but... I think that I'm just going to use an arpeggiator for this. And set this to 1/8, and then give this a really big swing and see what that sounds like. Okay, so it didn't quite work out in the way that I was wanting to, but it's okay. Because I'll just offset this here, kind of like that. And then I don't think that I want to I'll just leave this on one shot. And then we'll put some delay on it. It's almost there. Not quite though. I'm also going to pull this out of the sidechain for a second. I might actually pull it out of the sidechain anyways. But what I would like to do is... Wait, what? Oh, interesting. The texture thing was out of that. There we go. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, so now that we have this, we can have this really cool kind of like swing on this. And it's not going to sound great at the moment, but whenever we kind of mix this in, and then add a time shift to it, I think this will sound pretty sick. So it's just kind of another thing to add to that. I don't know if I'm going to keep that. One thing that might be kind of cool with this though is to use a square wave with this, and yeah, and then leave that open for fills, and then kind of just like create space and dance around this stuff, because that's kind of what this whole thing is supposed to be about in the first place, which is trying to create a relationship between all of the sounds that we have. So instead of just slapping something on there, like creating like a movement or a phrase and then being like, okay, well, how can I make this accented to where it enhances the groove or whatever. Yeah, I actually really like that. And I think that it works pretty well. Might need to adjust some of that stuff. But again, right now what we're trying to find is just, you know, bringing up, this is like super chill. And I wanted to have this have more energy and like more of a push-pull kind of aspect to that. So I think that like the foundation is there. But at the same time, it's not, you know, it's not, I don't know. Hey, yo, what's up? Okay, so, oh, I didn't even realize that I had Portal on this. That's funny. What I will do is duplicate this and add one of these and then add one of these. And like I said, you know, even though like I don't really know what else to do with this beat, the most important thing for me was not doing that. What did I just do? Oh, I duplicated Portal. I wanted Pro Q. The most important thing for me was beginning, middle, end, right? We've got a lame beginning. We've got a somewhat interesting beat on our hands, and then we have an outro, but whatever, I don't care. It's fine. I made a sketch, or I made like a piece of this, and this is something that I can play out and be like, oh, well, here's a beat I'm working on. I don't really know what to do with it. But having this means that the idea is at least somewhat complete, you know? I completed the idea, and that was the goal, you know? So when it comes to finishing tunes, the most important thing that I can tell you is fucking duplicate and variate, guys. Duplicate and variate. Find some kind of thing that you can carry into the intro, whether it be through resampling or whatever. And then, you know, and then once you have your main section duplicated a couple of times, you can make subtle changes to it and blah, blah, blah. But like now I don't have to call this, if I don't want to, I don't have to call this a whip. You know, I'm going to keep working on it, of course, but like it's out of the 8-bar loop of death. This is something that I think that no matter how much you hate your tune or whatever, you should do. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but it's just a practice that I've really been trying to implement myself, just because about 2 hours ago when I opened up this project, I was like listening to this and I was like, man, I really like this beat, but I don't know what to do to it. And I could just call it and say, fuck it. But now that I have this, I'm much happier and much more content with like stepping off and never touching it again, because I was like, all right, well, you know, here's just a little thing that I can do that I can sit on now, right? Because I can hear the whole thing like transition from one piece to another or go into the next. And I don't really care so much about the quality. That's just a means of like, if you become uninspired, then like put a little bit more effort into finishing that up. And that way you don't have to like, I think you guys are getting what I'm trying to say. Forgive me if I'm a little burnt out. But yeah. So the other thing that I'm going to do, I think, is to probably grab this and just do some automation on it. And I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to listen to it and maybe adjust it accordingly. You know, something like that. So yeah, we've added just a little bit of movement to that. And then what we can also do is kind of come into this and play a little bit more. And I love Portal for this kind of stuff just because it, you know, it will add interesting kind of stuff to this. I wanted this to go up, not down. There we go. And then we can turn it down a little bit because this is just supposed to be background stuff. And then what we can also do is I went through the trouble and made, it's in the bass somewhere. Here it is. So we made this little phrase, or this little guy. So what we can do is just grab this and extend it. And then bounce it, and then extend it, and then go to the pitch and do exactly what we were talking about from before, but this is going to hopefully create just a little bit of high-end energy to lead up into the intro, and then we can fade it in. So right now it kind of just sounds like a fart, but I think if we set this to maybe Elastic Pro and then turn the formant up. Okay, maybe cyclic. Oh, that's really cool. So now we can kind of use that and then just turn it down, I guess, maybe by like 3 dB. But we've essentially created, you know, just a cool little riser that's like adding high-end interest to get this to come in. So now that, you know, now that I have something kind of like this, what's really cool is can kind of pull off of that piece. And then pull off of that. And then just kind of be mindful about like what is doing what and taking your attention. Then I can just leave space for the fill right here. Kick. Actually, what I'll probably do is just add a clap right there. What I can also do is, yeah, I could probably just add that to texture and then just pull that up, kind of like so. Wait, what the fuck happened? I don't know. And again, we were talking about like impacts and stuff, so we can kind of just do something like this. Cut the low end. Sweet. So then aside from that, one other thing that I might want to do with this is I'm just going to, yeah, I'll probably just take this piece and find something interesting, or find an interesting way to introduce it, which could be kind of cool. So I think that what I can probably do is just grab this. Yeah, that should be fine. And then I will move this over here, and then I can grab something like that. The reason why that didn't work was because I actually have to bounce it first. And now that I have that, it should work. And then what's really cool is that you can see that these are all kind of coming apart like that. So I can slice by the beat markers. Oh, wait. Where is it? Slice at repeats. There we go. And then highlight all of these. What happened there? Now slice at repeats. Select all, fade them. So that way you get a cool. And then what we can also do is have just some kind of effect or whatever, kind of pull in on this over time. So maybe we can start from here and just do a simple like curve automation. So maybe we can also do something like blur. Kind of same deal. Start at 100% mix. move that over. Then we can kind of just set arbitrary delay times. I think I wanted the regular pitch shifter. Although they are the same, like technically the same effect, they don't behave the same by any means. So go like that. Go like that. Yeah, so we've essentially at least created something different about this other than like switching up the beat or whatever, but it just needs that elaboration on like make the idea dramatic. And I think that as far as just like a chill little like, all right, here's a groove, you know, to jam out to, like it's there. But as far as like making it have movement and dramatic change ups and stuff, I think that's something that I still need to work on. So, but by all means, you know, we put some work into this and we have a beginning, we have a middle, and we have an end. So at this point, it's really just kind of like, all right, well, what is your imagination limited to, and what do you have ideas for or whatever? So just makes you want to jump into producing no matter what mood you're in. I think that it's really easy to get into sound design with Faceplant once you understand the mechanics of it, just from the freedom of modularity, the freedom of routing, and the freedom of stacking effects and oscillators and all that stuff in general is just like, just toss some shit together, throw a limiter at the end and see what happens. I think that Faceplant is probably the best tool for teaching you about sound design right now, just because of how user-friendly it is. And like people are like, oh, I can't stand this take, and you can feel free to agree or disagree with me, but I can't stand when people are like, I use Serum for deliberate, simple patches, but I use Faceplant for when I want to jump off. And it's like, it's the same. Like, I feel like Faceplant and Serum are the exact same until you run out of effects. Until you run out of effects on Serum, then that's when Faceplant comes alive. But it is the same shit. It is the same shit. It's really, yeah, for people that are like, well, it's simpler. No, it's really not. It really is not. I need 2 serums for what I can do in one Vital/Faceplant. Right, because of the effects, right? But what I'm saying is, like, from a bass standpoint, they both have the same jump off point. They both have the same, like, almost the exact same workflow. It's not different. It's the same in that you start from a source, you add effects, then you modulate them, right? In Serum, you start from a source, you add effects, then you modulate them. It's the same shit. That's why I don't get that. I don't get why it's like, oh no, Serum is easier for simpler sounds. It's like, well, if you start from nothing, if you start from a blank canvas, you know, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it at all. And it's fine, you know, because it's really what I'm doing is just like making complaints about small things, but you know, I get that on so many videos of like Serum is better for deliberate, you know, stuff. And I'm like, where are you getting this from? That just makes it sound like you don't know Faceplant or Serum well enough to understand between the two. It's like saying, to me, that's like saying, hold on, let me think about it. I'm trying to think of something that's like, to me, the exact same thing, but people thinking that they're different. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. My brain is low-key fried, but yeah, that doesn't really make sense to me. People who are serum Puritans are afraid of faceplant for no reason, and vital too, but by the way, LOL, but that goes without saying. And I think that, to me, that's the vibe that I get when people say that stuff to me. It's like them being like, well, okay, faceplant's kind of cool, but vital and serum. And I mean, I think that, like, I have to say this, and then I also have to say that I am hypocritical, and that means of, like, VST loyalty and stuff, of all that. VST loyalty, or DAW loyalty, or DAW supremacy, or elitism and stuff. And if I have ever come across as being elite or being elitist within faceplant or Bitwig or whatever, I'll tell you right now, I apologize, because whatever gets the job done is what you should use. But in comparing and contrasting and stuff, it's kind of hard not to be objective when something is just clearly better. That's like being like, oh, I've got a 1970 Volkswagen, and you've got a Tesla, but you can't say that a Tesla is better because it's still a car and can still get me from point A to point B. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, it can, but you know what I mean? Like, but a Tesla is clearly 100 times better, right? That, at least that's how that makes sense to me. Yeah, I agree. Some people do develop that sort of emotional attachment to their synths, which I actually understand, because it's comparable to being attached to your guitar if you're a guitarist. Yeah, for sure. It's an instrument, right? And so I get that. But when people, like, it's one thing to say, like, that's your preference, but it's another thing to be like, well, this is better for this, or this is better for that. And I think that really the only reason why I care is because, coming from an educator standpoint, I think that it's important to have those distinctions rather, between like what everything can do, and that way you can make an informed choice. But I think I get ticked off when people say that, because they're implying that serum is easier to use or vital is easier to use. And to me, that's just not true. Again, to me, that's just not true. To me, that's like a cop out of being like, to me, that's like kind of half giving someone credit, but not giving them the full credit, because you're salty. And I guess, like, it's okay to be salty about some things, but objectively speaking, that's what I aim to clear up the room about. And, I think that like, to me, I don't really see any reason why people would buy serum, unless if they're already paying for it, right? Or they're like midway through their Splice rent-to-own program. Vital is free. And because Vital is free, why would you not have that as an attachment to any other synthesizer? Because it's like, well, shit, it's like, dude, it's free. Go download it. You know what I mean? Like, go play with it. You might like some other stuff better. And, Vital has its own things that it can do that is unique on paper to say something like faceplant or serum. But the thing with that as well, though, is that for me personally, like, spectral morphing doesn't change the sound significantly enough for me to be like, that's why I'm going to use it. Like, the sounds that I get out of the spectral morphing aspect are not cool enough, or not like significant enough. I think that would be the better way to say, because what you're doing with spectral morphing essentially is just changing the waveform into something else, right? So for me, I'm like, well, why do I need to do that if I can just manipulate the wavetable in the first place? Because what is it that we're doing? Well, we're making sounds, right? Well, what kind of sounds are we making? Like, that process is definitely unique, and you have to give that credit for it. And you can say that it does that, but as a means in between doing something like FM or creating a wavetable, to me, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make a chunky waveform that I can process through filters and effects and stuff. By the way, that was a joke if it wasn't obvious. Oh no, yeah, it's fine. And actually, I didn't know, but regardless of if it was or not, like, the conversation is open. But I guess just because I have the upper hand of the mic, right? Because I'm the one that's speaking to everybody, and you guys are unfortunately at the mercy of typing on your keyboards. I'm just kind of giving my opinion on the matter. Ha 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 ha! I am in control of the conversation. No, but I mean, I invite that, and if somebody is like, okay, here's why I think this is better, or here's why I think this is different, then, if your workflow incorporates resynthesis and cross modifications of wavetables, then no phase plant. Let me think about that for a second. So, okay, yes, yeah, to a degree, right? But let me ask you an objective question. If you resynthesize, if you spend all your time making a patch and then you resynthesize it to a wavetable, what are your results something that you think makes your patch better? And what is it doing to the harmonics of the wavetable? Because the fact of the matter is that because you're putting something into a wavetable, you are essentially stretching the sound out, and you are losing a lot of the key characteristics of the initial patch, right? So, like, let's say you have something with a flanger on it and like the crazy distortion movement and stuff. Well, it's going to take that and take a very small piece of audio and stretch that out into the wavetable. So that's the process that it does. Now, if that's how you do things, then that's one thing. But for me, I'm trying to use the wavetable in the first place to get something that is noticeably like morphing without losing my low end. So does that process serve a functional purpose other than it being cool? And that's exactly what I was saying with the spectral morphing piece, right? Of, yes, this is cool, and it is unique by all means, and that is a unique process that it can do, but does it cater towards, actually making sounds that are usable for you? I've already made that decision, but that's what that question would come into, right? And by all means, I'm not saying that these other programs don't have stuff that are unique and that aren't cool by any means, but at the end of the day, when it comes to understanding like what it is that you're doing, is like you're modifying a wavetable, right? And if you need to modify your wavetable in a specific means that is with that process of something within Serum or Vital, then yeah, sure, okay. But that process that we're describing right now does not support the idea that I was bringing up in the first place, which is it is easier to sound design in Serum and Vital. That does not support that, because if anything, that is like what you're talking about is a much more complicated process, because you have to design the wavetable or the source sound, you have to design the effects and the modulation, and then after that you resynthesize, and then after that you continue to process it further. So if anything, that's an incredibly complex process that you do to your sound, right? And so, like, yeah, to me, that doesn't support that thesis. But I do agree with you in the sense of, like, if your workflow incorporates that resynthesis aspect and, cross modifications and blah, 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 then whatever. Although the cross modification is, I don't know if you guys watch the Kilohearts barbecue or not, but mod remapping is something that they have in the works whenever that's ready. And I think that, like, I still need to see, maybe Data Broth has a cool patch or something, or maybe Glork Glunk or somebody, but I still need to see what exactly mod remapping can do. There was one specific use case that I made a point about with mod remapping, and I can't really go into detail about that because it was something with, it's like some NDA stuff. But aside from that specific use case that I wanted to use a mod remap to toggle something on and off, to me, it's like, you're setting parameters within parameters, which can be kind of useful, I guess, in randomization, but you can also just set the random amount, right? So like the cross modification and all that stuff, I don't know. Like some other stuff recently, fuck man, I wish I could talk about this with you guys. I can't do it yet, and I will. So we're going to have to put this conversation on hiatus for the things that I want to discuss. At the same time, I'm still searching for, and keyword, I'm still searching for like the true benefit of doing mod remapping. Unless if it's just like a macro within a macro, that makes sense to me. But to me, there's workarounds to that. Resynthesis is nice and cool, but some people are under the impression that resynthesis is the only way to achieve complexity, which is bogus, of course. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think that resampling is a gateway to getting, but resampling is not the same as resynthesis. Is Avenger synth okay? I think it's all right. It's not my go-to, but I think that it can do some cool stuff. I made a beat with only 3x oscillator, aka the default synth in FL Studio. I think a lot of people have done that, and there's a lot that you can do. And I think that, like, to me, like, if I can give you guys any advice, don't worry so much about investing in synthesizers. I would invest in effects and modulators. So something that has the ability to, like, change stuff without you having to touch it, and also like unique effects, because that is going to take you way further than any synthesizer, in my opinion. If you have crazy ass unique effects that you can stack, then that is going to take you way further, because every single every single synthesizer, you know what I mean, can produce a sine wave. Every single, pretty much every single synthesizer can produce a simple waveform, to which with enough processing you can get very close results to doing other, like, quote unquote complex processes, right? It might not be like be a wavetable morpher or something, but you can make a sick bass out of a square, out of a triangle, out of a sine wave, out of a saw, definitely out of a saw. And to be honest, that's really all you need is yeah, and I guess it depends on what it is that you're trying to do as well. But if my advice for all the shit that I've bought in my lifetime is invest in effects and like any kind of not modular, but any kind of environment that can create like LFOs and modulators in general. And that's why, like, I swear by Bitwig, because everything can be modulated, and I'm like, oh, this essentially makes every effect that I have way more viable. Avenger is too clunky to use IML, would rather have Free Vital with cool effects plugins. With effects, the sky is the limit. Yeah, exactly. And I can't speak for all the other DAWs and stuff. Like, I know FL has a weird routing chain, like when you stack too many effects, but even still, you can get some really cool stuff just by stacking third-party effects in that way. And I'm hoping at some point, like, I would love if you could actually do that, like in the future of Bitwig, of being able to expand the device window and then being able to just like place stuff in here. That would be so amazing. Like if they allow this to be expansive and then turn this into a vertical aspect, kind of like how Faceplant or Multipass is, but then you could do it with third-party effects. That, I don't think it will ever happen, but man, how cool would that be? Change this into a grid chain, and then you can play stuff in that way. I don't know if you've ever been asked this, but what's your stance on Fox Stevenson's take on OTT? That would be cool. Yeah. He has a point, but I don't think that it matters that much. It could matter, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. OTT rotates your phase because you're splitting things into 3 bands. You have crossover, so that means anytime you send a signal through, it's not going to sound the exact same. But if you're using it for sound design purposes and then you print everything to audio, then it's always going to play back in the same way, right? So it's always going to be the same once it's an audio. If you have an audio approach to your workflow, kind of like how I do, and a lot of people that I look up to do, of just like get it to audio, then the OTT doesn't matter that much. I have a different way about how I apply OTT these days. And really, it's just boosting the high band as opposed to the mid and low. Because really, what you want out of OTT is to get more to get more high end, right? So you might as well just do that as opposed to having the multi-band compressor do all this other stuff. Because a lot of times within an OTT as well, it removes a lot of mids, and I like mids. The mids is where all the motion is where all the interest is at. So if you remove all that stuff, then it becomes kind of like it kind of removes interest from your sound. Pointless point for bass design IMO, maybe kick sub alignment, but not much else. Yeah. And by all means, like if you like it, then use it. But for me personally, like just turning up the high band gets the job done for me. And I think that like something to consider within like bass design in general, it's something that I've been doing more as of late, is balancing the sound out. So flattening it out and getting it relatively like smooth. So even if it has a lot of crazy movement or whatever, I find that like if you're wanting to make this stuff usable, the more flat your sound is, the easier it is for you to be able to apply. So how does one reconcile with wanting to print audio but having the habit of automating shit every 2 bars? Well, record your automation and record a bunch of stuff and then throw it into a sampler or a slicer and then try to find little cuts and stuff in between. So that way you don't have to be too precious about it. And that's what I do. And this is something that both Cohen Sound and Chi have covered in their paid stuff. But I've known about this trick for a long time. But what you do is you just take a long piece of audio and then you set your sample offset to velocity. So whenever you change the velocity, hold on, I'm going to duplicate this so that way. But whenever you change the velocity over here, that didn't work. Wait, what? Okay. Whenever you change the velocity, then it will change the sample. And then what it does is it teaches you how to be more deliberate with automation. So like, let's say you have a phrase or something that you really like. Well, as opposed to having to commit to like a thing, then over the top does some weird OTT compression. Well, it does both upwards and downwards compression on 3 bands. So, yeah, don't worry about it. It's not that important, but I actually like Slate MOTT plugin quite a lot. If you don't run the OTT mode, it's a perfect placeholder for the workflow of multi-band dynamics for me. Yeah, whatever works for you. That's really what it is just finding something that works. But once you have something like that, like let's say you have a phrase that you enjoy, right? Then you can use a filter and automate something over that. So that way it teaches you to be deliberate within your automation as opposed to like filtering a bass and then being like, oh, it's got to have this movement. Like, fuck that, man. That's too much time. It's too much time to do automation for bass movement and stuff. Unless if you know exactly what you want, you might as well do that automation, quote unquote, within a modulator in your synthesizer. So like that's where like Serum and your multi-stage envelopes would come alive. I automate within the synth? No, that's fine. That's what I'm saying. You should do that. So like for something like this, right? This is modulation, but it can be considered in the same deal, right? So you can just like, let's say you have some kind of piece of movement within, a multi-stage envelope generator. So like, let's say you have a shape kind of like this. Well, what you do is you have this shape and then you bounce it out. So that way you have the same sound, and then you just make a change to the shape, or you duplicate the synth and make different ones. And then you bounce those out. Like that's a very easy and practical way to tackle that. But when you have a piece of automation on here like this, like just bounce it out. If like you're hell bent on doing automation like that, and whatever, like just bounce that piece of audio out and then put it to the side or whatever, and then do a different piece and then do a different piece. But that's a very archaic way of working, in my opinion, just because it takes too much fucking time. If you're sitting here trying to write a tune and the only thing that you're concerned about is like making your bass move, like fuck that, man. It's going to take you forever. Which, you know, there might be magic to being meticulous with that kind of stuff, but there's so many more efficient ways to do that with deliberation and with control, right? You might as well just do it in here, because that way you can come back to it. That way you can make those changes that you want to change and then just like duplicate the patch, or again, just bounce it to audio. It makes it so much easier for your workflow. And it does take forever. Yeah. And like I said, you know, if you get results with it and like that's how you do things, then again, who am I to tell you what you should and shouldn't do? But for me personally, like I'm on the random train. I bounce out, you know, just a long piece of audio, and then I find something to work with in this. Always gets me down this effing rabbit hole where I spend 2 hours making variations I'm never going to use. Yeah, I would say randomizers, man. Randomizers are your friend. Set up all the filtering and stuff, and then just try to find those cool hits instead, and use consistent sounds for the main driver, right? So as opposed to like my whole bass line being this stuff, like, no, just simple sound, right? Here's a sub. Here's a consistent sound. Here's a consistent sound, right? And then as like fills or whatever, even for this is also a consistent sound. So using stuff like this is incredibly useful because you can find deliberation between like how to get something that you can recognize. And then when you want to do a cool sound design highlight or whatever, that's where you have these bass fills. Right? And that's why resampling becomes so important, because once you have shit like this, like you can just bounce it to audio and then make changes to that. Or you can bounce out the master and then send it through some kind of effects for that variation. So again, it's all about the order of approach about how you do this stuff, and about teaching yourself how to find shit without having to sit down and do the sound design of like, oh, this patch needs to be this. It has to be, you know, in fucking credible and this and that. If you take the approach of getting the idea down, and then you have a little bit of wherewithal about resampling and about modulators and stuff, then it will be so much easier for you to find inspirational sounds than trying to make the inspirational sound. And the only reason why I do stuff the way that I do now is because I took the time, you know, to like figure out how to make this stuff. But I don't think that I would have found it if I would have done it all within manual automation. It's too many effects. It's way too many. Is this? Yeah. Look at, this doesn't look like much, but imagine doing all of this by hand. Imagine doing each and every single one of these. Anything that you see in orange is moving, but imagine doing all that by hand. Quote unquote, deliberately. This never would have came together. I never would have been able to discover this. It's too much. It is way too, at least for me, like maybe you guys are super geniuses and like, you know, it's all like you got it, whatever, more power to you. And I respect the hell out of you, but I've tried too. And I did that. The first comprehensive guide to Neurobase was like this. And I don't do it like that anymore. It's too much time. It's way too much fucking time to sit here and design bases and shit like that. So that's why I try to push people towards like understand the effects that you go in, right? Which understand the process of all that, but like I don't fucking do it by hand anymore. I'd much rather do it this way. Even if you have a melody or something, like it is so much easier to do something like this. So hold on, let me just do a quick demonstration for you. And this is why I advocate these kinds of sounds and basses so much. And like, I think that I don't want to toot my own horn again, but I think that like what I've created with these kinds of sounds is going to at some point change the game for bass design. But that's not because I'm trying to sound like a genius, but it's more so of the sense of like, look how much easier this shit is. So let's say we have some kind of bass line, right? It doesn't really matter. Okay, so okay, now what we do is instead of, and this is kind of like the pseudo Cohen sound approach, right? But what you do is you set up a resampling channel to this. Is this in melodics? It's in something. Oh, here it is. Okay, so you set up a resampling channel to this and you let it play. And you just record this out. And then what you do is you activate these macros and stuff that allow you to have the same phrase, but have different repeats of it. So now look, let me move this to a brighter visualizer. But look, I've just recreated at least 4 different versions of this. And even though they're randomized, the versions are still there. So it's the same baseline, right? But repeating it in a way that has different movement on each part. And so what you do is maybe instead of using each one like that, you throw down 3 of them that are the same, or you do a different call and response. So maybe you go like this, you go A, B, then you go back to A, and then you do some other kind of change up between this, right? And then you can go in and like be more granular with it approach, of course, of being like, okay, well, I'm gonna take this phrase, but you know that because of this being in this part of time, you know that these melodies are in time and where they're supposed to be. So that way you're able to create, you know, more variation between this. But look how much easier that was to create a baseline like that, as opposed to doing all that shit by hand. And then once you have a general idea about what it is that you want to do, that's where you go in and you add those little effects. So you can go into your automation now and then do stuff to make those changes. Right? And you can kind of just start the phrase off in the same way or whatever, or like fish through cuts. And there is a matter of like, you know, trial and error, of course, but it's a lot easier to find variation within these trial and errors doing it like this, as opposed to, you know, trying to just make this stuff first. And that's why I advocate that. And this isn't even how I make baselines. But if you have something that is consistent in that way, then you can use that to find those variations and do all that in between. And this doesn't have to be with randomizers. You can set this to have different parameters of like macros. That would be the next thing is, and I did a video on this about writing stuff with melodies, but you kind of automate macros over time over the same melody, and then you have all these variations. But it's still, you know, categorized as like your quote unquote neuro-based stuff. But in that same sense, right, I've kind of done the opposite of that and just bounced out a bunch of stuff that's all like random and independent of pitch or whatever, and just use this for like improv sound design highlights, right? So now instead I have consistent sub, and that makes it way easier. I just started the trial for Bitwig 2 days ago, and it's hard to figure out, but it looks like it's going to be so much better to learn. I've been using it for, oh, you've been using FL for a year. Hi Josh, welcome to the channel. I have a full class, I guess, for free on the channel from Bitwig 3.0. So it's not quite up to date, but I've reviewed all the changes from the newest iterations. So if you're trying to get your feet wet with like how everything works, or just like where to navigate everything, you can just find that on the Bitwig tutorials. It's like a comprehensive guide to Bitwig 3.1 or some shit. But it teaches you how to pretty much do all the things and make all the functions and all that. And then I have more advanced tutorials that are littered throughout as well. And then of course you can always come in here and be like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Whatever. That's a really easy thing to do. But yeah, I love Bitwig, man. It's given me it's opened so many doors for me. So yeah, in saying that, does anybody have any questions about anything else? Or is there anything that you guys want to know about regarding this song or sound design or anything else of the sort? I'm going to listen to this from the beginning and finish it out and see what I think, and see if there's anything else that I want to do to it. Well, I used Ableton for like 6 years. And then I was like, oh, Bitwig. Oh, Bitwig, for sure. Yeah, sure. One sec. Add like another percussive thing on top of this, because it doesn't seem like it's, even though I changed the beat, it's not interesting enough to yeah, I got you. I'll answer all your questions in just a second. Okay, so the first question is, how do I set up a sidechain? And what I do is I use tools. So I go to, I'll do this like from a new thing really quickly, but what you do is you grab a tool and you go to this little icon right here, and then it's already there, but you grab a modulator called Audio Sidechain right here. And then what you do is you just find whatever it is that you want to sidechain to. So I go to my fundamentals, I'll find my kick, and then I usually go to pre, and then I set this little guy to the volume. So that way it's volume sidechain as opposed to, I set it to volume sidechain as opposed to doing compression. But if you are wanting to do compression, then what you can do is grab dynamics, and it's already set up for you. So you just grab this here, and then it will say, here's your sidechain device, and you just find out where you want to do it. So I prefer to do it with volume just because it's a little bit easier for me. But what I have is like anything that goes into my fundamentals, which would be like my fundamental, like the hardest transients, or the main transients, right? Which is my kick, my clap, and my snare. I have 3 different ones that are volume sidechain to that. And then it's all kind of just set up there, so that way whenever my kick comes in, it ducks. Whenever my clap comes in, it ducks, and then my snare as well. So, and then I also set things to pre, and the reason why is because if you set it to post, then you're not going to hear the sidechain when you solo it. So if you set this to post here, then it's going to be post fader, and that means that if it's muted and you are soloing something, but you want to hear how it's pumping within the sidechain, you're not going to be able to hear it. So I just do kick pre. And also this is just the transient on its own, so it's before the effects in itself. To answer your other question, how do I like print stuff? There's 2 different ways to do it. The first one is I have a there's a keyboard shortcut that's automatic, and you're going to have to look it up. But let's say I'm just going to take this little piece of audio here. Let's say I have this and I want to print it. For me, it's a keyboard shortcut, which is Command B, which is bounce in place. And then if I want to bounce it to a new track, then I just hit J. And I think that that's also a custom keyboard shortcut. But you can always right click and go either bounce in place or bounce to new track. Something that you can also do is make a clip on the master channel, which is how I get all of these texture layers here. Hold on one second. This stuff is all like effects processed from the master channel. So the way that I do that is I just create a clip right here like this, and then you just go bounce. You can bounce in place. I wouldn't recommend it though, but you just go bounce, and then look, it'll create a new track for you. It's so cool. And so like, this is fucking money. And then like, instead of like freezing and flattening a track or whatever, you just turn it off, and then it will save you your CPU. So now you are free to process the master and do whatever it is that you want to do. But like, I'm interested in grabbing the physical file behind that clip and moving it to my sample library. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. All right. So once you have something that you like, then what you do, hold on, let me zoom out of this, is you go into this little tab right here, which is the show project panel. And then you go into your files, and whatever you just printed, it sometimes can help to rename it. So master, and then you might have to bounce it again. But if you know that you're going to try to find something like that, here it is right here. You create a new folder or whatever. I don't really need to, but now all you have to do is just drag it, and look, it's there on the thing. Oh, you can't see my screen, but I just dragged it to my desktop, and then it's done. Is that what you were looking for? Okay, yeah. It's just here in your project files, or in your it will be in the project files, and then you can always do like bouncing. Just changes it from MIDI to audio, right? Yeah, it prints it. Long story short. Thank you for your suggestion as well. I'm going to try that. Oh, what did Skylar say? Or just drag the audio event into a folder through the browser on the right side. Also, you can make smart folder with your favorite stuff. Yeah, I tend to just drag it to a folder on the desktop and then throw that into the sample pack. So that makes things a lot easier for me. You technically can, like, if you forget and you don't want to open the project, then you can just go to your Bitwig folder and then find your projects or whatever, and then and then they'll all be there, and then you can just drag that, or like highlight everything and then option drag, but that's kind of tedious in that way. I would rather just drag it out to a file because it will create a copy of it for you. And there's no ASD files, which is great because I fucking hate those so much. Cannot stand ASD files. That's ruined so many projects for me, is like accidentally deleting the ASD files, and then Bitwig can't, or Ableton couldn't find them anymore, and I was just like, man, that sucks. Don't remind me of those ASD files. Oh god. Yeah, I have a couple on my desktop I still have to do a few projects in Ableton, especially when working with video, but yeah, it sucks. How do I group different sounds? Like if you have a chord stack with 4 layers, how do you send them all to one bus, process them as one? So you just highlight whatever sounds you have, or that you highlight your tracks. So we'll just do this. Hold on one sec. Highlight them all via shift click and then command G or control G. And then now everything is bussed to this. And then you can group within groups. Never knew you need ASD files. I just disabled the option to generate them anyway. I've tried that, but I don't know why, man. Like it just keeps doing it, and maybe I have some kind of, I don't know, man. Fuck that shit though. You can also do the grouping within channels as well. So like if you've got multiple synthesizers or something, right? Or let's say you want to do like a group track or something. You've got faceplant. Well, what you can do is a couple of different things. You can toggle them so you can have multiple VSTs on one channel if you want, which is great because everything has MIDI through. But what you can also do is, again, hit Command G, and then you can just duplicate this, and now you've got your stack of however many different things. So you don't have to have, like if you're doing a saw stack or whatever, you can do it this way instead, as opposed to having to have like 5 different tracks, and that makes it a lot easier as well. And then what's also really cool is, like, let's say you want to have some variation or something, you can convert this either to an instrument selector or an effects layer, but the instrument selector in particular will allow you to select between these different ones on here, which is really awesome. So that means that it will only activate whichever one is selected, and then you can use your modulators of like an LFO or something. We'll just do like a classic LFO and place that on here, and now you're going to see that this is going to sweep through these like that. And so, oh my gosh, man, like Bitwig is so it's crazy. It is pretty nuts. So yeah, there's multiple ways to do that. It's like, if Ableton is good, dude. It is good. It does a lot of stuff, but I do think that Bitwig improved on a lot of the problems or a lot of the annoyances that Bitwig improved on a lot of the annoyances and grievances that Ableton had, and that's why I switched, because there was a lot of stuff that you can do. You know, Ableton can do all the same stuff. It's just you might have to do more steps. I couldn't figure it out, so I hate it. That's how I feel about Cubase. Bitwig was made by Ableton devs, though. Yeah, it was made by the original creator of Ableton and some other team. But that's why I can't really say that I hate Ableton, but I hate Bitwig. They're too similar. None of the options I tried for print and export seems to work. E.g., I take a drum loop, slice, kick out, consolidate to kick, locate the file, and still has the full loop. Did you bounce the loop? Consolidation is not printing, mind you. Does it have stock plugins? Yes. They're both great programs, and when I'm using one, I miss the other. I'm still sticking to live because of these small workflow issues Bitwig has. No, okay, so look, like consolidation, the reason why consolidation doesn't work is because you didn't actually print the thing. And the reason why it doesn't print is because it allows you the flexibility to continue working within something. And I'll show you why. So this is actually really important, because one thing that this has that that Ableton does not is the ability to work within the clips. So if you solo this, and let's say you go, duplicate whatever, and then you hit Command J, which will consolidate it, you still have the individual clips or the audio events within this clip here. So between that, what you can do essentially is have this same piece of time and then make individual changes of this while still working within this slice of time here. And that's why the consolidation doesn't bounce the audio piece. So you can change the warp mode or whatever in between all of these, and do all kinds of crazy stuff within that. And then when you're ready, that's when you go to print. So that's when you hit J and you go, or you hit J or you hit Command B, and then you bounce that to audio. So that's why. Consolidation is a means to control or have like a specific set of sounds and control together within a piece of time. It's almost like grouping audio. Yeah. Consolidation within Ableton literally bounces it. So that's why you want to bounce in place. But this stuff and having the flexibility between to work into all this is actually one of the major features that I chose Bitwig over Ableton for, because of the sheer fact of like that you can edit audio within audio and like change all the warp modes and stuff, and then you can also randomize them. So let's say you switch all of these to slice mode, right? And then you turn this on, and then you randomize the formants, you randomize the pitch of them. You can add in your operators on this, like this. So like just the sheer amount of mangling that you can do with an audio is something that really helped take this and really helped define it from its own thing, opposed from Ableton's like audio workflow. Because I would say that like before Bitwig came out, Ableton's workflow for audio was king, because of the awesome time stretching and because of the consolidation and all that stuff, and then also like the repitching and the warp modes and all that. But Bitwig pretty much said, hey, not only are we going to like one up it, but we're also going to put our own spin on this stuff and make it like really insane. And so having the ability to kind of do all that within this and then create your own onsets and blah, 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 whatever, like this is a sound design synth in its own, this workflow approach. And I encourage everybody that has Bitwig to work it, because you will get some insane shit out of it. And this workflow approach that I'm showing you right now is how I came up with all of this percussion here. So all of this percussion that you see is actually, all of this is resampled neurobass. And the way that I achieved that was from resampling it and cutting it up in the same way that I have here. And so that's just another piece to the puzzle of like the workflow that I found within finding success within Bitwig. And this is how the way that I've made this percussion is the same way that I make percussion in every tune. So, you know, you don't have to do it from a bass or whatever. You can obviously do it from a drum loop or, you know, what the heck ever. But having that much power within your audio is just, to me, it's money. Yeah, did anybody else have any other questions? I love questions, if you couldn't tell. So I'm probably just way too used to Ableton to feel like I'm fat fingering everything in Bitwig and have troubles with random stuff. Yeah, I did too for a while. And there were certain things that I was like, oh, can you do this? Oh, you can't. And then I was like, wait, not only can you do it, but you can do it easier. So there is that. But yeah, at the same time, one of the big things that I actually really hated about Bitwig before they released it in either 3.3 was being able to time stretch on the timeline. So that was a key feature that I was like, I really need this, because that was something that I used in Ableton like very extensively. But on the flip side, the other thing with that is that Bitwig can time stretch infinitely. Like it can go as long as you want it to, whereas I think Ableton can only go up to like 999 BPM. But look, okay, I'm not going to go any further than that, but I think you get the point. So yeah, I mean, with that in particular, like it's pretty nuts. That time stretching also bothered me. Time warping and mangling audio and live is just so comfortable. Well, you might be surprised, but I think that all of the warp modes within Bitwig are the same as Ableton. They're just expressed differently. But yeah, as far as like what algorithms they use, they are the same. One thing also made a very cool, did I miss something? You'll need to bounce it first. Also made a very cool disperser substitute called Diopser. Did you have something before that, Skylar? Because I'm confused. I hear people say that, but I never understand what they mean by that. I'm confused. Yeah. One thing that I do miss from Ableton is that the Beats mode has different options that you can use that I think is really cool. So even though they are the same, they're still like, they're not quite like, they don't quite have the same, the algorithms are the same, but the functionality is not. So, oh, I mean, yeah, well, there are some differences, right? There are some objective differences. For example, in repitch mode on Bitwig, you can't transpose stuff. like you can stretch it out and stretch out the tempo or whatever, but you can't actually transposition it to where it'll move the size of the clip for you, where on Ableton it will. And then also within the beats mode in Ableton, you have these different like playback modes of like through, of like transients, and then you have like much more options that you can figure out, whereas this one you only have small, medium, and large. So I definitely would have liked to been able to like manipulate the actual grain size of this from a 0 to 100 value, as opposed to just that. Do I have the envelope transient processing with beat mode? I use it quite often to make drums shorter. Yes, so you set it in either stretch or slice, and then you change this into preview onsets, and that will change that into whatever it is that you need. So yeah, like let's say I'm going to turn this on for a sec. If you wanted this to, let me duplicate this and then stretch it out. So if you wanted this to have like your repeats or whatever and all that other stuff, then you can either go to slice and then set it to either granular, but you can change this to either onsets, or you can change this to like, and then for whatever reason, if like you can't, like if your onsets aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, then you can make your own. So you can just come into this and then hit 3, and then just draw in your onsets here. But the problem is that to get them quantized, you have a lot of like, you have to do a couple of extra steps, and sometimes that's annoying. So what you do is like, let's say you take this piece and then you right click and go, hold on one second. Let me cut this. You select this, I believe. Then you go slice at onsets, or slice and place onsets. So now this is sliced. And then once you have that, you can highlight all of these and then go right click quantize. And then you can set that to like 130 seconds or something. And then that'll move everything over for you. Try that one more time. Beat markers 1/32, and then now everything is kind of placed in that way. So I did it all the time too. Instead, do I have the? You should check out a video called "Creating Micro House Drums with Micromanager Preset" by Tatch Teaches. Yeah, he's that guy's smart. Yeah, so that's how you can like quantize that stuff. And this isn't really that big of a deal until you start doing this with like making drums or like chopping vocals or something, or trying to find a cool, interesting melody. But you can do it. It's just like, here's the process to how you would do that. Whereas in Ableton, it's a little bit easier to like quantize the warp markers, I think. Because I don't think that you can just do that within this. It would be nice if you could, but yeah, I don't think you can. I think what you can do though is, hold on one second. So what is this? I don't know. Let me just pull this to a new track so it's isolated. Here we go. And if you go into stretch here, then you can create these different stretch markers or whatever. Just hit 3, and then you have these little guys right here. You can kind of fit everything into place pretty easily. Now with this though, I don't think that you can highlight these and quantize these. Slice in place. Yeah, so this didn't even slice at the onsets. So it's weird because like the warp markers here are not oh, these are beat markers? Okay, well that's interesting. Hold on one second. Wait a second. Oh, hey, look at that. Interesting. So hold on. Wait. Hold on. Can you just editor? Custom. Okay, that does not quantize it. So you can't, yeah, you still can't quantize by beat marker, which is kind of weird. But you can slice the beat markers, right? So you can highlight all of these, right click, and then go to slice at repeats. Wait, what the fuck? Oh shit. Slice in place, beat markers. And now that you have this, you can highlight all of these, and this is what will quantize. So it is kind of tedious in that way, but you can see how everything kind of shifted over. Kind of do that in the same way again, maybe to like 1/16 or whatever, and then now everything is kind of moved off to where it starts in the same deal. So yeah, that's interesting, and it's good to know, right? Maybe here and make it a little bit more dramatic. There we go. So you can take the chops or whatever and you know, do stuff in that way, but those are just things of like, okay, like yes, you can do it, but here's how to do it, and this is a couple more steps or whatever, but at the same time, it works. So there's that. But yeah, oh, it's 2:30. Yeah, I don't really have anything else that I want to do today. I've got to get ready for class here in a bit, and then I've got to do some other editing and stuff, and I'm just I'm fucking burnt out. I've been going so hard at like making tunes and content and stuff, and I've got a couple of projects for some outside sources or third-party sources that I'm trying to finish up before the end of the week. But man, I'm trying. Yeah, I teach, and also, well, I'm not doing so much teaching right now in any case, but my instructor runs a martial arts class online, and I've been with him for over a decade, and so I come in and I take the class, and then I also, you know, help with like teaching insight and stuff and all that. But if you guys are interested, I have the martial arts channel. It's called Evolution JKD. It's my instructor, and it's his channel, but I'm on that channel quite a bit, and I do all the editing for him. So I am his editor, and then I'm also one of his instructors. So there's that. But yeah, I do class every Thursday at 4. And there's a lot of really cool stuff on there too. So there's stuff about fighting. There's stuff about philosophy, stuff about insight, stuff about exchanging ideas. I'm going to bring him onto the channel at some point and talk to him about what he taught me, which was how to cultivate creativity, even if you are not necessarily a creative person. And there's a lot of great stuff that we'll have for that, because the way that I teach is, I'd say like 70% through him. So he taught me not only how to learn, but also how to teach. And if you think that my teaching style is somewhat interesting, to say the least, then you would learn a lot from him as well. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much. Consider supporting the channel. Sample pack stuff on alckemy.com, or becoming a member, or join the Discord, say hello, hang out, interact with the channel, all that stuff. The VOD will be up for a few days, and then I'll put it in the vault. So if you want to check back into what we did or talked about, then you could do that. And yeah, subscribe to the channel and all that stuff. But much love, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.